My name is Isolde. I lived alone in a vintage apartment complex that used to be a hotel in the 1920s. For weeks, I felt like I was being watched. Small things would happen. My perfume bottle would be moved, or the shower curtain would be pulled back when I entered the bathroom. I ignored it. That was my mistake. One Tuesday night, I went to sleep around midnight. The room was dead silent. Sometime around 3:00 a.m. I woke up. I didn't wake up naturally. I was woken up by a sudden, heavy pressure on my mattress. I was lying on my stomach. I tried to turn over, but I couldn't move. It wasn't just sleep paralysis. I could feel distinct physical weight pressing me down into the mattress. Then I felt it. Cold, solid hands slid around my waist from behind. They weren't ghostly or airy. They felt like ice-cold human hands. They tightened violently, digging into my skin through my thin pajamas. I tried to scream, but my face was buried in the pillow. A breath, freezing and smelling of stale tobacco, brushed against my ear. A low, guttural male voice growled, "You ignored me for too long. Now, you stay here." He didn't want to kill me. He was claiming me. The grip on my waist tightened so hard I felt a rib crack. The pain gave me a surge of adrenaline. I threw my head back, slamming it into whatever was behind me. I hit something solid. The grip loosened for a split second. I rolled off the bed, hitting the floor hard, and scrambled to the light switch. When the lights flickered on, the room was empty. But when I looked down at my waist, my pajamas were torn, and 4 deep purple bruises in the shape of fingers were already forming on my skin. I left that night with just my keys and never went back. Welcome back. What you just heard is a nightmare scenario that many people have faced but few talk about. We often think of ghosts as fleeting shadows or tragic figures, but sometimes they are predators. Today, I have 4 extensive true stories about paranormal entities that developed a dangerous, obsessive attachment to the living. These aren't just hauntings. These are spiritual stalkers who refuse to take no for an answer. Get comfortable, lock your doors, and let's go deep into the darkness. Number 1. My name is Vespera. I've always loved antiques. When I moved into my first studio apartment, I bought a gorgeous floor-length standing mirror from an estate sale. It had a heavy brass frame and looked like something out of a movie. For the first month, everything was fine. But then, the atmosphere in my apartment shifted. It started with the cold. No matter how high I turned up the heat, the corner with the mirror remained freezing. Then came the jealousy. I started dating a guy named Mark. One night, Mark came over for dinner. We were laughing, having a good time. Suddenly, the wine glass in Mark's hand shattered. Not dropped, shattered, as if someone had squeezed it. Mark left early to get stitches. I was cleaning up the glass when I looked into the mirror. My reflection was normal at first, but standing directly behind my reflection, deep in the glass, was a man. He was tall, wearing a tuxedo with dark, slicked-back hair. He wasn't looking at me. He was glaring at the door where Mark had just left. Then, his eyes snapped to mine. I heard a whisper, not from the mirror, but from right beside my ear in the empty room. "He is not worthy of you." I spun around. Nothing. Over the next week, the activity became violent. If I tried to leave the apartment, the door would jam. If I put on makeup, my lipstick would go missing. He was isolating me. The climax happened on a Friday night. I was sleeping. I woke up to the sensation of being dragged. Something had gripped my ankles. I was being pulled slowly, steadily, across the wooden floor toward the mirror. I clawed at the floorboards, screaming, my fingernails breaking against the wood. The pull was incredibly strong. I was only feet away from the glass when I managed to kick out with my free leg. I hit the side of the mirror frame. The mirror wobbled and crashed face down onto the floor, shattering instantly. The moment the glass broke, the grip on my ankles vanished. I lay there in the silence, sobbing, surrounded by shards of glass. When I turned the lights on, my ankles were circled with red, hand-shaped burns. I threw every piece of that mirror into a dumpster miles away. Number 2. My name is Nix. Since I was a child, I've been a lucid dreamer. I can usually realize I'm dreaming and control the narrative. It was my safe space. But 3 months ago, an intruder entered my dreams. It started in a dream where I was walking on a beach. The sky suddenly turned black. A man appeared on the horizon. He had no face, just smooth, pale skin where features should be. He didn't walk. He glided. He spoke to me telepathically. "You are beautiful when you sleep." I tried to wake myself up, which usually works instantly. This time I couldn't. He grabbed my arm in the dream, and I felt actual pain. "Stay," he commanded. "The waking world doesn't deserve you." Night after night, the dreams continued. I started waking up exhausted, with unexplained scratches on my arms and legs. I was losing weight. I felt like my life force was being drained. One night, the dream was different. I wasn't on a beach. I was in a replica of my own bedroom. The faceless man was standing over my bed. "Tonight, we merge," he said. He climbed on top of me. I felt a crushing weight on my chest. I couldn't breathe. In the real world, my body was thrashing. My boyfriend, who was sleeping next to me, tried to wake me up. He later told me that my eyes were rolled back in my head, and I was speaking in a voice that wasn't mine, saying, "She stays here, she stays here." My boyfriend had to physically shake me and shout my name for 5 minutes before I gasped awake. The room smelled entirely of sulfur and rotting flowers. I had to get a priest to bless the house. He told us that a parasitic entity had attached itself to me, feeding on my energy by keeping me trapped in sleep. It wanted to put me in a coma so I would be his forever. Number 3. My name is Solara. I needed a break from city life, so I rented a secluded cabin in the mountains for a week. The listing said it was a historic property. The first 2 nights were peaceful. On the 3rd night, a blizzard hit. I was snowed in. I was reading by the fireplace when I felt a hand stroke my hair. I swatted it away, thinking it was a bug. Then I realized I was alone. The fire in the hearth suddenly flared up, roaring unnaturally. The smoke didn't go up the chimney. It billowed into the room, forming a dense gray shape near the armchair. A man's voice, sounding wet and gurgling, filled the room. "Martha, you came back." He thought I was his wife. I stood up, trembling. "I'm not Martha," I said, my voice shaking. "Please leave me alone." The entity didn't like that. The heavy oak dining table slammed against the front door, blocking my exit. The windows rattled violently. "Don't lie to me!" the voice screamed. The temperature dropped so low I could see my breath. I ran for the back door, but the lock wouldn't turn. It was jammed. I felt icy fingers wrap around my throat, not to choke me, but like a possessive necklace. The ghost whispered, "We will freeze together, like last time." He was trying to kill me so I would be a ghost with him. I realized I had to fight. I grabbed a heavy iron poker from the fireplace. I swung it at the back window, shattering the double-paned glass. The wind howled in. The entity shrieked as the fresh air hit it. I climbed out of the window, cutting my leg deeply on the glass, and jumped into the snow. I ran through the blizzard to my car. I drove down the treacherous mountain road, bleeding and crying. When I researched the cabin later, I found out the original owner had frozen to death with his wife in the 1950s during a storm. He was just trying to recreate their final moment with me. Number 4. My name is Kalen. This happened in the digital age, where you think you're safe behind a screen. I bought a refurbished smartphone from a shady kiosk in the mall. The phone seemed fine, but it had a weird quirk. The camera would open by itself. Then the texts started. They came from my own number. Text: "I like the way you hum when you cook." I dropped the phone. I was cooking right then. I looked around my kitchen, empty. I thought my phone was hacked. I did a factory reset. That night, I was lying in bed scrolling through social media. The flashlight on the back of the phone turned on. It was blindingly bright against my wall. Then, Siri activated. But it wasn't the robotic female voice. It was a distorted, deep male voice coming through the speaker. "Turn over, Kalen." I froze. I slowly turned over to face the empty room. Through the phone's screen, I saw my camera app was open. On the screen, I could see myself lying in bed, but hovering directly over me, visible only through the camera lens, was a grotesque, static-filled face. Its mouth was wide open, inches from my own. The voice from the phone spoke again. "I can touch you now." Suddenly, I felt a burning sensation on my cheek. It felt like a hot branding iron. I screamed and threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. I ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. On my cheek there was a red, irritated patch of skin in the perfect shape of a thumbprint. I didn't just throw the phone away. I took a hammer to it until it was dust. But to this day, whenever my new phone vibrates, my heart stops for a second, wondering if he found a way back in. These stories remind us that obsession is a powerful force, one that can sometimes survive even death. Whether it was the mirror, the dream world, the snowed-in cabin, or the technology in our hands, these women narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, being owned by a spirit. If you ever feel like you're being watched, or if you feel a cold touch when no one is there, don't ignore it. Leave. Because sometimes saying hello is an invitation they never accept as goodbye. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.